Hi guys and welcome back. Today I am working on a mixed media piece and I realize that I never actually consider myself a mixed media artist or these pieces that I create as mixed media pieces. I always think of them as watercolors, and I'm primarily a watercolor artist, which to be clear is true. It's my primary medium that I use, but it hit me that I'm not utilizing the mixed media quality as much as I would like to. There's so many benefits with working mixed media, and I want to continue pursuing that. So this piece is even more mixed media than usual. So usually my pieces are watercolor with acrylic gouache, but today it is watercolor, acrylic gouache, and acrylic ink. There we go. Acrylic ink is the addition that I explored, and I am very excited about it, about using it. So let's just talk a bit about the technique and the process that went into this piece, and a little bit on how and why I choose to incorporate a new medium into my pieces so that I can solve certain problems. And at the root, the core of it, I think that's really what mixed media is all about, is that some mediums have certain benefits and others have other benefits, and they all have certain drawbacks. And finding the right combination that you're looking for to have the most perfect experience or the most perfect outcome you can is kind of the goal. And very quickly, before I forget, I do have a 25% off holiday end of year sale over at my shop. So that is 25% off absolutely everything, which includes this original that I'm painting right now and all of my other originals over at my shop. Anything else you can find there, it's all 25% off. There's a link down in the description that'll take you over there. So if you'd like to go check out all the art goodies that I have available, make sure to do that. The end of the sale is December 14th. So that is this upcoming Saturday. So yes, it's a great chance to go get some of my art before the end of the year, before I do a bit of a refresh next year. So anyways, back to the topic at hand. And I am always on the pursuit to solve some of my art challenges. So anyways, with all of that chatting, to begin with, the first wash that I do on this piece is actually that ink. So to be clear, it is an India ink, which I believe stays fairly reactive to water after you've used it. This is acrylic ink, so it becomes permanent, not water soluble after it's dried. So that is one of the benefits that I was reaping with this, is it allowed me to go straight in with the background, and it's really dark and a very rich color. And then I could work on the figure on top of it without any fear of it reactivating and then bleeding into that wash. So that is one of the key important things that made this piece come together the way that it did. So it's just very important to be aware and to understand the mediums that you're using so you know how they handle, what are their pitfalls, and you can work around that. The key reason that I did the background like this with a new medium rather than watercolors is actually one of the things that I've been struggling with watercolors actually a lot lately. So I love having really, really dark contrasting backgrounds. Usually it's in the backgrounds, I should say, but I love having this really rich black feature in my pieces. Watercolors are not good at achieving that. I've tried over and over again with different pigments, different techniques, different layering, glazing properties, and ultimately I'm always disappointed by that. So I have been widening my horizons for different mediums that I could be using to achieve that. I have used I think it's called Black Star. It's one of my favorites. It's Black Star ink by Dr. P.H. Martin. Yes, it is also waterproof. I believe it's an acrylic ink, and I love that ink. I love it so much. I use it for basically any black and white watercolor type painting. I'm using that ink. But the drawback is that it's very warm when you water it down in any capacity. So it works great for a very specific color palette, but like this one, where I wanted it to glow blue, it was not working. I did do some tests with it, and while it created really luscious velvety blacks for the outside of the piece, it did not lend itself well to blend into what I needed it to. So that was out. But it got me thinking about using a different acrylic ink wash. There we go. And I actually mixed some blue ink with that Black Star ink to get the darkest area. And then I had this really pure pop of that blue color towards the middle. I think it's also the same brand. It's Dr. P.H. Martin. And that did the trick. I was really, really happy with that. And again, that's actually something, not again, that is something else that I've struggled with watercolors, is getting this very high contrast blend. So I wanted it to be very bright next to the character as if she were glowing, and then very quickly blend into the black background. And I've struggled with that. I'm sure that there's a way to do it, and I'm sure it's a skill level, but I have never been able to achieve it to my liking with watercolors. And I've done a lot of tests. I did a lot of tests before I did this one too. So yeah, I don't know what it was about the quality of the acrylic ink wash, but it achieved what I was looking for, and I am so happy about it. I absolutely loved that I could finally get the effect that I was imagining in my head. So yes, working in that extra level of mixed media really did help me realize my dreams of this piece and my future dreams, because these are techniques that I would really want to be able to achieve in future pieces. So I love that I can have that in my tool set for future pieces. And after I painted the background, I moved on to the figure, and that's where I switched over to watercolors. They are the ones that I am most familiar with and comfortable with. I know the pigments that I own the best, so that allowed me to be able to achieve the color palette that I wanted for that figure comfortably. With the acrylic washes, I'm still very new to it, for one, and for two, I have a limited amount of inks, and I haven't fully exercised how to use them and blend them well. So I use my watercolors, and I don't have any limitations with what I wanted to achieve for the figure in certain areas with the watercolors. So I went in with that, and I was able to get her painted pretty quickly, which was nice to be able to take a little bit more time experimenting and figuring out something novel, and then just kind of lock in with something that I was familiar with. But after that, after I finished kind of the general base layer of her dress and her skin underneath the dress, I moved over to my acrylic gouache. Wow, the name of it completely escaped my brain, but I'm using acrylic gouache to add back in that light white quality. I choose to use this other medium rather than preserving the white of the paper because I've really struggled with that. I think it's maybe I'm impatient. I'm not really sure, but some artists they're so good at preserving the white of the paper and painting around it, and it just has such a sharp, clean, beautiful quality to it. But I have never been able to do it. I always end up painting over it, either on accident or on purpose, because I'm tempted to try something else. And I don't like masking over an area that's going to stay white, because in every instance that I've used liquid masking fluid, it has stained the paper. No matter what brand I try, no matter how quickly I remove it, it stains to some degree, which makes it less white. It takes it further from my goal. So that is why watercolor just doesn't do it for me when it comes to that. For adding back in the whites, the lighter details, you just can't really do that with watercolors at all. So the acrylic gouache comes in very, very handy for solving that problem that I have. So it allows me to add in those really stark contrasting whites, but also to add washes with it that are semi-transparent or semi-opaque, and it creates that hazy look that I wanted for her dress. I wanted the dress to look sheer, and that is an effect that I'm still really trying to figure out how to do. I love sheer clothing, and I love that like misty, ghostly quality of it, but I haven't fully been able to do that effect in a way that I'm happy with. So that is still some exploring, some playing with the mediums, but I'm pretty happy with this application. I think that it was a little bit closer than I have been in the past. And then finally, I ended up using the gouache to paint the leaves and the flowers. It just, I don't know, it felt right in the moment to use that as opposed to my watercolors, which I typically would use. One of the things that I liked about it is it allowed me to create a solid shape very quickly that had very sharp, clean edges to it, as opposed to when I use my watercolors, because I've already painted the background, there was a certain roughness to the edge of it. I would have wanted to paint it with watercolors and then outlined it with the acrylic gouache. And I didn't think that that would have added more value than simply going straight in with a bold, solid colored shape that I did with the acrylic gouache. So that's how I finished that area up. And then I always like to go back in, usually with my acrylic gouache, because it's so opaque and I can go on the full range of value with it. I will go back in and add any highlights or little shimmers or sparkles. So most of those were in white or almost white, where I could add that to her dress and add back in the highest pops of highlight to it and just make everything sing a little bit more. I have to say, not to toot my own horn, but I feel so happy with this piece. It feels a lot closer to what I dream and wish I could achieve with watercolors, but haven't quite gotten. I'm really pleased with that background. And a quick reminder, I do have my 25% off holiday sale over at my shop, no code needed. That is for this original, all of my other originals, my tarot deck, my books, enamel pins. It's 25% off. So make sure to check that out if you want to get any art goodies before the end of the year. And yeah, that's about it for today. I cannot wait to show you guys the next couple of videos that I have there on the projects that I am currently working on, and I am super excited to show you, to talk about it, because I love working on those projects. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me while we talk about art, and I will see you next time.